Christmas has come early this year, guys. It's time once again for an unwrapping episode here on Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 That's time for the show. Yay.
Well, hello, everybody. It is time once again for Attack of the Killer Podcast. I'm your host, Insane Mike. This is episode 243, another one of our famous unwrapping episodes.
Oh, they're so famous.
All of us are horror nerds, and we still buy Blu-rays and DVDs. Well, I still buy DVDs. I think everybody else has given up on DVDs. Just do the Blu-rays or the HDs or the 123s.
Betamax.
So old.
And we all have movies within our collection that we've bought and are just sitting on our shelves forever unwrapped and unwatched. So an unwrapping episode is when each of us will take a movie out of our collection that we have bought for whatever reason, but have never unwrapped and have never watched.
And he's right. We all do it. So fess up.
That's right.
Admit it.
Admit it.
You're guilty too.
No, I think Godzilla watches all of those Dollar Tree Blu-rays.
There's no chance he
It
has
doesn't
time
have
for
time.
that.
Yeah. If this is your first time listening to Attack of the Killer Podcast,
Welcome.
what you are about to hear will blow your mind.
No.
Not really. But what you are about to hear is a horror movie podcast where a group of friends, we get together, we pick a topic, and we talk about films within that topic. This time, we're discussing movies that are in our collection, collecting dust on our movie shelves. So we have done several of these unwrapping episodes. I lost count.
Yep.
And so we've done these episodes as a means to rationalize buying the movies in the first place. We speak open and freely, so there will be spoilers, and that's all the warning you're gonna get. It's it. Now, if you like the show, you should consider supporting us, and so we can buy even more movies we won't watch.
That money doesn't go to that.
Oh, okay. But your support does go back into the show, for reals. I mean, I can show you the books if you don't believe me. We don't have books. When you become a supporter of the show, you become a member of an elite class known as the Attackers. And when you become an attacker, not only can you park anywhere you want, you can also get all kinds of extra content not available to the normal listener. You can get bonus episodes, different video series such as video updates and St. Mike's 1 Minute Top 10 list, killer critiques. There are t-shirts, membership cards, certificates, stickers, original art by me where I draw you as a monster of my choice called Mikey's Monsters. All that and so much more. Check it out for yourself at jointheattackers.com. There you can pick the tier to get the perks that you want. It's so simple. Just go to jointheattackers.com and sign up to be an attacker. Again, that site is jointheattackers.com. There's another perk out there that I didn't mention. You get to do a video hangout with us once a month.
Oh, they're so fun.
Show and tells, where we kind of just show off stuff in our collections or recent purchases and whatnot. It is a lot of fun. We get a lot of the attackers on there for that, and it's a good time. So, with that said, you're not going to get any of my references as I introduce you to the podcast crew. I often told him he needs to learn how to do more delegation, but when he has someone else show off his newest items for his pop collection on our monthly show and tell, I think he took the delegation a bit too far. Jason, everybody.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening.
His bank account is grateful that the Spirit of Halloween stores are not open all year round. Tad.
What Jason said.
Hey.
We learned from Sunday's show and tell that this guy's denim jacket has pins like three boobed women and Crispin Glover getting screwed. Andy!
I knew that before Sunday.
Yeah, this is true. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, he's back, and he's one bad mother. He's so badass that COVID got vaccinated to keep from getting him. That's right, the one, the only, Bryan freaking Clark! Woo!
Hey everybody, it's great to be back. Godzilla, Doctor Who, exploitation movies, Funko Pops suck. I think that about covers it. Let's go!
We got that out of the way. That's good.
Awesome.
Bryan, hey, buddy. What
Hey.
you been doing?
I was sitting around waiting for you fuckers to call me on the phone.
Oh, yeah. You opened that new Grimlock yet? It's the wrong time. I know.
Wrong show. Wrong show.
I did. I was texting you about it
I know.
when I was doing it.
That's true. Well, we're glad you're here. We missed you, buddy.
Yes, we totally
I missed you guys too.
Aw. Okay, everybody out there, what is Shudder? It's a premium streaming video service for any and all types of horror fans. Shudder has the best selection of all things horror. Different series, movies, documentaries, podcasts, so much great content. You can stream Shudder just about anywhere. If you watch your stuff on your iPhone, your Roku, Xbox, Android devices, you can get all of your horror needs with Shudder. What are you waiting for? Sign up for Shudder today. It's great. You don't trust me? Have I ever lied to you before?
Oh, God.
Well, I'm not lying this time. But if you won't take my word for it, how about you try a month of Shudder for free and judge for yourself? Attack of the Killer Podcast loves you so freaking much that we're going to give you a month of Shudder for free. So check it out by entering our promo code AOTKP. You'll get that month for free. You'll get hooked. You'll need your fix. You'll sign up for Shudder. You'll be a better person for it. Again, that promo code is AOTKP. See. I'm
I was yelling at people.
I know. I'm so angry. I think I'm just stressed.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, because currently I'm baking a cake, so I need to go get my frosting on. So I'm going to turn things over to Tad with what we watched.
I know I didn't get a whole lot watched, but the things I did watch are very exciting. So I was going to jump in front of everybody and just be rude, but I'm going to say guess first. Bryan, what have you watched recently?
Oh, it's been like a year since I've been here, so buckle up. Just jump around a couple of highlights. The rebuild of Evangelion, the 4 movies, they finally, Hideaki Anno finally made the 4th one, and it came out on Amazon Prime, so I decided to just watch them all at once since I had been waiting to have them all available before I started down that road. I don't know if any of you are Neon Genesis Evangelion fans, but they were interesting. I liked a lot of the stuff they did. There was a lot of changing in the way the story was told. But the end was kind of stupid. So there's that.
It happens.
Watched a crazy ass Italian horror movie called Spider Labyrinth that got brought up a while back on another one of your network shows, Unsung Horrors, which is an awesome show.
Oh yeah, that's right. No wonder that title sounded familiar.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that movie.
And wow, it's wacky. It's kind of like a Ramsey Campbell novel come to life, where it's this weird mystery that starts out seeming like it's just a mystery, and then it gets a little supernatural, and then it gets a little more supernatural, and it gets creepier and creepier until it just goes completely batshit crazy at the end. And I won't tell you what happens because you really just need to see that shit cold. Gendy Tartakovsky's Primal. I don't know if there's any Samurai Jack fans in the house. Same writer, animator, director. It's kind of like a cross between Ricardo Delgado's Age of Reptiles comics, where it's just completely visual storytelling with dinosaurs, but there's a human-ish viewpoint character, kind of a Robert E. Howard pre-verbal Conan the Barbarian type of guy. No dialogue at all in the show, just a lot of screaming and grunting and roaring. And it is one of the most beautiful, poignant things I've ever seen on television. It's fantastic. So check it out. HBO Max, Adult Swim. And of course, there's got to be a Godzilla thing. There's a new anime, Godzilla Singular Point. I was watching it as it came out from Japan's fan subbed because I'm impatient. But I couldn't wait to watch the dub on Netflix because it is super information dense. It was written by an actual theoretical physicist. So the science is all real cutting edge science, and it's crazy and hard to keep track of, but it's got a lot of cool new monster designs, a lot of callbacks to classic stuff. It's a feast for the eyes and the brain and Godzilla fans. It's great. And then lastly, it's not a movie thing, but it is horror related. For the first time since the pandemic started and everything got locked down, I got to see some live music.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
I have a friend up in Minneapolis named Andrew, and he has a death metal band called Coagulate. And the whole theme of this band, all their lyrics and everything, are about Brian Lumley's Necroscope series of novels.
Oh, wow.
And this was their first show since they put their demo and did a split with some other bands out. So this is their first show supporting actual recordings that you can have of them. It was their first big headliner show. It was the first show back from the pandemic. And it was awesome to go get to see my buddy who I haven't seen in like 2 years and listen to some kick-ass metal. Check out Coagulate if you like death metal. And even if you don't like death metal, listen to them anyway.
How long can they keep a theme going on, like based on like novels? Like,
well, considering there's like 13 of these fucking novels, quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. All right, Andy, what have you watched?
Well, other than catching up with The Walking Dead with the wife, grown. I've come this far. I'm just gonna keep watching it until the bitter end. But I did catch Jacob's Wife with Barbara Crampton and absolutely loved it. Thought it was great.
Yes.
Very, very bloody. I was surprised to see Philip Brooks, CM Punk, was in this movie as a deputy.
Yeah,
At
very
first
small,
like
cameo, basically.
Yeah, at first I didn't recognize. I only recognized him at the end because I didn't even recognize him when he had like the sunglasses on when they pulled Larry Fessenden over. But that's a very fun movie. I suggest you check that out. I also
I love that one.
watched a movie from 2014. I think it's called Wolves at the Door. And since I'm a sort of helter-skelter Charlie Manson kind of freak,
A little bit.
it's based on that, and I use the word based because thank God I wasn't drinking when I was watching this because it's so factually wrong. It was just starting to piss me off. But thank God, like Katie Cassidy's like really pretty and nice to look at because she played Sharon Tate, and they got some things right, but most of it was just ass backwards what they did. But I mean, if you just look at it from like you don't know anything about it, it's a decent movie. So it's going off of HBO Max here, and you probably don't want to see it anyway. So I'll move on. I just finished, and the last one I want to talk about is I just finished it before the podcast. It's The Old Ways on Netflix, and it's a Mexican exorcism movie about this girl that goes back to kind of where she grew up, and she's not supposed to go to this one place. Like La Boca, like these caverns, and she does get possessed by this certain kind of demon. And it's not your typical exorcism movie per se, because in all honesty, I thought it was really kind of tame. There is a creepy old bruja lady that looks, she's like actually probably the most scary thing out of the movie, and she's the one that's supposed to be helping her. I won't elaborate much more. I mean, it's well made and it's well done, and it takes place like in this ramshackle shack, basically, like in the middle of the jungle out, in Mexico. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's worth one watch as a new movie. But yeah, it's not bad. But as far as exorcism movies go, it was pretty tame, I thought. And that's what I watched.
All right, Mike, what have you watched?
I only got a couple things to talk about. First off, finally watched it, and I even missed it when we did the viewing party for this movie. I didn't get to attend that one, but I finally saw Dave Made a Maze.
Yay!
Oh my god! I don't know why I wouldn't say I was dragging my feet on it. I just feel like I just been waiting for the primo opportunity to watch it, just because ever since I first saw the trailer, I just thought this movie was going to be amazing, and I was right. It is amazing. I freaking love it. It uses it's so imaginative, and I love the set dressing with all this.
cardboard.
I do love cardboard. And I love like what they do with lighting, what they do with effects, what they do with sound, what they do with music. Everything is so it's so
very
sensory
creative.
overload. It's very, very creative. It's super funny.
It really dips its toe in horror though too.
Because when I saw it was on Shudder, I'm like, what, really? But yeah, it's there. It's there, and I love when people are killed and red confetti and streamers shoot out instead of blood, and it's just so imaginative, so much fun. I would have the only thing that makes me mad about this movie is I didn't make it. It's a movie that I would totally have made.
Nick Thune is hilarious.
And he was just in Davenport last weekend.
Oh, cool.
For Alternating Currents Festival.
Did you end up going? I know
I did not.
Yeah.
No. I wish.
That's
it was
cool.
like a Thursday night, and I had to
That's
work the
right.
next morning, so.
So it's one of my new favorite movies.
Yay!
Yeah.
Finally.
And then I won't dwell on it too much because Andy already brought it up, but I also too watched Jacob's Wife. Freaking loved it. Great vampire movie. It
Wait, it's
honestly,
vampires?
yeah.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
It honestly did not go in the direction that I thought it was going to go. It was way more over the top. I wouldn't say campy, but like monstrous type of vampires instead of like some slow burn, like maybe like romantic vampire story or something. It was just a lot of fun, really good movie. Barbara Crampton always is awesome. It's the least homeless looking Larry Fessenden I've ever seen.
All right.
Still looked homeless, just slightly less.
I want to go back and change my answer from the bonusode that I want to live in the universe where somebody who looks like Larry Fessenden can get somebody who looks like Barbara Crampton.
I know, right? That is the right answer. That is the right answer.
Oh, what an episode that was! That bonus episode, man.
Man, if
You missed
only
out.
you were an attacker and you could hear it. Oh wait, you can. JoinTheAttackers.com.
$1.
So that's what I watched.
All right, Jason, I've been holding off on you because I know we watched something the same
Yep.
that we can't talk about, sort of.
Right, because it's really,
But
really new. Yep.
Yeah, but I'll just go ahead and go with you. I know we both watched the new Candyman, but go ahead and tell us what else you watched, including Candyman.
Yeah, I got the last 2 weekends I got to go on a double and triple date with the family and their girlfriends, and got to go out to the theater for both of these. So yes, Candyman, fantastic. Just watched it a couple days ago. Everything it's all awesome. I guess I don't.
The only thing I can say I don't think is a spoiler that I was sort of taken back by is that they keep calling it still or calling it a reboot, and it's not at all. It's a sequel.
It really is.
Oh,
It's just
cool.
it's a 100%
Okay.
sequel,
Yep.
Oh,
not a reboot in any way.
well, now I'm really glad that we rewatched the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched
just
it.
last night because it had been forever since Terry or I had seen it.
Yeah, we rewatched it Monday night, the original, and then saw Candyman Thursday, the opening night, and fucking loved it.
Yeah, freaking great. I think it's in the trailers, but speaking of creative, it's the way they use the shadow animation. It's not animation, but the shadow puppets.
Like
Gosh,
the paper, cutouts.
God dang it.
I love that.
Such a great way to tell a story. It's not the same old thing, you know?
Yes, instead of just like flashbacks. Yeah, I loved it. I think it's such. I can't wait to pick this up on 4K. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous looking movie. With such great performances from people I've never seen before, like new actors that it's like refreshing when you have new faces in a series and they deliver. Like I loved everything about it.
Yep, completely agree.
Terrifying, creepy as hell, just so good.
Oh yeah, and the score. And it's no Philip Glass, but it was still really great. There's little hints of it in there and of the old score and good. And then 2 weeks ago we went and saw Free Guy. Holy crap, that movie's so funny. Ryan Reynolds. I mean, I know I'm pushing too old to really understand what's going on in this movie, but I'm just kidding. But
it's basically like a video game character, right?
Yeah, it's like a Sims game, but a NPC, a non-playable character, kind of
becomes
self-aware.
Okay.
And becomes a character. He starts thinking and...
Well, see, when I heard about it, I'm like, this is Wreck-It Ralph, right? Like, I've already seen that. Oh,
sure, but with 100% Ryan Reynolds and his hilarity, it's fantastic. It's a perfect Ryan Reynolds physical comedy kind of movie.
It's a Taika in it too. It's like the villain.
Yep, Taika Waititi is the villain, and
God, that guy. How does he fucking have time?
I know,
right?
Oh,
does he just not sleep? Like, but he looks like he gets lots of beauty sleep. He's fucking gorgeous too. So.
And his character, he's the villain because he's like he's like an old. He's like trying to be a young hip kid, and so he talks like a young hip kid, and he's clearly not, and it's so bad at trying to be cool, and he's so fucking funny at it.
I'm waiting for him to we find out the one thing he's not good at. Like, we got to find something that he's terrible at, right?
That's
I don't know what basketball maybe. Who knows?
And,
probably like it seems like all those but then again he's probably fucking athletic too. So fuck him.
And it's also another big stars, Joe Keery from Stranger Things. He was really fantastic in it too. Thought he was really great.
God, by the next season of Stranger Things, the kids are all going to be parents, right? I mean, it seems like it's been fucking 10 years.
Too long.
Yeah.
Right.
So those were the two movies I saw, and then I guess it's not really it's a little bit of TV, but I just watched the second episode of What If last night, and it's amazing.
What's that?
It's on Disney Plus. And
it's a new Marvel series.
A new Marvel series.
But it's animated.
And it's animated, and the animation is freaking good. And it's based on What If comics. You can help me out, Mike, with that. But
so, yeah, What If was a series back in the day in Marvel where they would take major storylines and put a twist that already happened in Marvel and put a twist on it. Like, what if Spider-Man stopped the criminal that killed his Uncle Ben, stuff like that.
Yeah, and so based on this multiverse that they've established now, so that anything can happen, and so yeah, it's really interesting. And besides the animation being awesome and the story lines being awesome, they also got to use a lot of the original characters from the movies. Like Michael Rooker was just in the second episode.
Is that where Black Panther is Star-Lord? Okay.
Yep. Oh man, it's and like Thanos is just like one of his gang as a good guy.
Nice.
It's just crazy. So it's just like crazy alternate universe with the characters that we love. So I'm really
Have you
enjoying
watched?
that.
There's a new little short that doesn't have anything to do with that, but I want to say it's called All Hail the King. And it's a documentary filmmaker goes into prison to interview the Mandarin from Iron Man 3.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
It's just this silly little 13-minute. It's kind of a teaser for, I think, something that's supposed to be coming in the Shang-Chi movie next weekend. But
I saw the video pop up, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not even 15 minutes long. It's breezes right by, and just like every Marvel thing, stick through the credits because there's some funny stuff in the credits with Sam Rockwell.
Oh, Sam Rockwell.
Sweet.
One of my faves. Well, anyway, that's what I watched. Tad, what have you been watching?
Man, I'm stoked. I had a good run. Like I said, I didn't watch a lot, but what I watched was all fucking cool.
Yeah,
Well,
I got some goodies.
Pause for a second, I guess, looking at my list again. But Candyman, I was going in excited. Outside of the very first trailer, I've avoided TV spots and reading all the articles, anything. Even afterwards,
Yeah.
I've heard people are saying, "Oh, I can't believe the reviews are so negative." I'm like, "Why do you read them if you know?" To me, I saw it, I liked it. Why do I care what some guy I don't know thinks? Whatever. Love Candyman. I saw Don't Breathe 2.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
No, I don't know.
Really?
It was
Oh.
rapists aren't heroes. I'm sorry. Like
What?
you can't paint him in any type of positive light.
That's absolutely true. But he also owns up to, I don't know, there's no way to talk nice about yeah.
No, I just
Right.
don't. I think
I
it
get
just is a hard sell for me.
It is.
I cared about literally one person in the whole movie. I wanted everyone fucking dead except for the girl. So
Yeah.
it's hard to root when it's like
Yep.
that guy's going after that guy, but not with the bad guy, and it's like they're all bad guys.
But
I
don't
don't
you
know.
love Devil's
Kind of the way I looked
Rejects?
at it. Kind of the way I looked at Annihilation.
Oh.
I love Devil's Rejects, but I also find those characters despicable too.
Brandy and I did a rewatch here not too long ago, and I still love that movie. I still love the Devil's Rejects, but I have more problem with the third act than I think I've ever had. It just it almost to the point of like, oh fuck you, Rob Zombie, and what you're trying to do with these characters
It's all
in the
a
third
sensitive
act.
subject for sure.
Yeah.
Despicable heroes, anti-heroes.
Yeah, I don't know. It was suspenseful. It was fine, but
All the
like,
good stuff was good, but yeah.
Yeah, I felt like it was I liked the first movie, but it's like, is this something we need a sequel of this long after? Like, do people still remember that came out? And then it just seemed like Sam Raimi saying like this is the best idea he's ever had for a sequel. I'm like, really? Like, it just feels like why was this made? And it was not memorable to me. Like right after I saw it, I went home and sort of forgot I saw it. Didn't stick with me like Candyman did. I don't know. I think it was just sort of like a new horror movie in theaters. I got to go see it, and then I was sort of like, maybe I recommend if you like the first one, check it out at home. I recommend actually bootlegging it, like downloading it illegally, so you don't pay for it. No, I'm joking. but it's something that you don't need to see in theaters, and it's not. I don't think it's still in theaters anyways, so don't have to worry about that. But the other thing that I'm very excited about, guys. You guys know me. I do not like series very much. It's a hard sell for me because when something's 10 episodes long and they're an hour long each, that's like 5 fucking movies I can watch. So it takes a lot for me to get into a series. And I fell for one on like Friday night. I watched the first episode and I finished the whole.
Just came out of it.
Yeah, I'm already done with the first season, and it's called Brand New Cherry Flavor. It's from the creators of Channel Zero that was on Sci-Fi Channel, but this is on Netflix original, so it's full of nudity and full of blood and swearing. I think my friend... I don't watch any trailers, just go into it, but I'll explain the setup because it's all in the first episode. And I sent the trailer to my friend Noah because I thought he would like it, but I knew he wouldn't watch it without watching a trailer. So I watched the trailer after I watched the series, and it was interesting. It's being called Lynchian, very David Lynch. I don't think that's really fair because it's very easy to follow, which is not David Lynch at all.
Weird. Yeah.
It's weird, but I think my friend Noah, I sent him the trailer and he said it looks like Lost Highway mixed with Starry Eyes.
Huh.
And I thought that was pretty good. So basically, this like young 20-something-year-old film director, this girl creates this experimental horror short film, right? Well, she gets a call, and it's like, hey, I'm so-and-so. It's this big Hollywood producer, and he's like, I saw your short film, and I really like it. We should meet up. I want to talk to you about it. And he meets up with her, and he's like, hey, would you be interested in making this a feature? It really blew my mind, whatever. And she's like, that would be great, you know? And he's like, I'd have to find a director. And she's like, why don't you pick me as the director? And he's like, you know how hard it'd be to get financing for something like a new female director has never made anything but this. Like, there's no way, whatever. Eventually, and this is all like in the first like setup. This is just setting up the whole 10 episode run. But he is a scummy Hollywood producer, so he fucks her over, and the whole rest of the series is her trying to get back at him. But it's totally fucked. It is like, I mean, it's not like her trying to get like revenge by going to his house and stabbing him. She puts a curse on him, and things get very weird for her and him and everybody involved. It's fucking cool. Like, visually fucked up. She pukes up like I think 10 cats throughout the series. Yeah. It's and they're little kittens that are alive, so there's no animal death, but I can't even explain it without like spoiling things, but I highly recommend it. It's one of those things. I watched the first episode and got digging into it, and I could not stop. Fucking loved it.
Jump in with both feet, huh?
Yes, Andy, I think you would love this. It's on, like I said, it's on Netflix. The episodes are actually like 40 to 50 minutes, so it's not a full hour. So, you know,
I could definitely get that done like right in the morning before I go to work and just knock them out during the week.
Just give everybody, if you're listening, it sounds interesting. Just give the first episode a try. I bet you'll be hooked. It's fucking cool. It has the lead girl. I've never seen this movie, but that Alita that Robert Rodriguez directed, like the girl that's the lead of that movie.
She's great.
Battle Angel. Yeah, she's the lead in this, and she's like growing up, and I don't know. She's the director, the female director. It doesn't really have any names in the series, which is really cool too. But yeah, I fucking loved it. I highly recommend it. Brand new cherry flavor on Netflix.
Cool.
Check it out. That's what I watched.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tad, for that. Did you guys know Jason has taken up globe making?
Oh.
He's currently working on his first one right now. He's trying to figure out where to put the North and South poles on the globe. He calls it pole position.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
All right, gang, we're going to take a quick look back, all the way back to episode 241's pole position, because some people don't have Twitter. Some people in the world just refuse to get Twitter, and they just won't do it. Bryan Clark. So in 241, the question was, what is the best film that represents a serial killer? Remember your answers? I'll tell you. Mike says Deranged.
Number one.
He always
with
says
a bullet.
Clearly. I said My Friend Dahmer from 2007. Tad says Zodiac from 2007. And Andy says Helter Skelter. Brian, which one did you vote for on Twitter?
All of them.
Wrong.
I think it's so sweet that you explain the results of this just for me, because I'm the only person on the planet who doesn't have Twitter.
That's the thing. When you say you don't have Twitter, you can look at it without having Twitter. You don't have to have an account.
But then I have to remember to go look at it. You can't expect me to.
Yeah, you still want the results.
I restarted my Letterboxd account like 3 months ago. And I remember start following all of you, and you're all excited. Oh, Brian's finally got Letterboxd, because I had one forever ago and I never used it. And then exactly what happened, I knew what was going to happen, and it did. It just started feeling like a chore, and I started forgetting to use it, and I haven't logged anything in like a month.
Oh, we know.
Because I just don't even remember it's on my phone.
Hey, it happens.
So who won?
Okay, good question, Tad. Let's see who didn't. It tied for last place with 6% of the votes.
Jason, Tad,
Andy, and Insane Mike.
Me?
That's bullshit. Deranged is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, he got one vote. Or 6%.
You got a second one in spirit.
And if only that would do enough. In third place, so that means the winner was 69. That's for you, Andy. Percent
Nice.
of the vote. Tad fucking wins again. He always does.
damn it.
That fucking Tad guy. Tad 69 with. Well, it's the best movie on here, Zodiac. It makes sense.
No.
But let's move on to this episode's pole position. The question is, what is the best release of 2021? Insane Mike.
This is it, hands down. This is going to be the number
Sell
one
it.
pick.
Get them votes.
I went with Deadly Friend from coming out from Scream Factory this year. Coming out here soon. Because
A future release.
it's still 2021.
What happens if it gets canceled last minute?
Has anyone even seen Deadly Friend?
I
I
had
have.
Monster
Besides
Vision
me.
years
No.
ago.
No, because you know why? A movie's been out of print
Baby.
forever. That's why this is the number one pick for pole position. So you can see in high definition that really bad headless Anne Ramsey walking around the room after her head gets smashed.
I
by
stopped
a
playing
basketball.
basketball after I saw this
Yeah,
movie.
I was gonna say, like that was like dodgeball circa 1985 from where I'm from. Like we would bean the piss out of each other. It was great. I mean, we wouldn't throw it at Mama Fratelli's head, mind you, but yeah.
All right, I'll go next with what is clearly going to be the winner. Come on, guys. We know that Shout Factory put out the deluxe They Live Collector's Edition with an exclusive NECA action figure with poster and a vinyl. Holy frickin' crap. Oh, and I wonder who here's got some of that. I know Andy did.
I did, definitely. I got Frank and
Beans.
and Nada are hanging out,
No.
beating the piss out of each other.
And what's
They
cool-
are turning into the Anchor Bay of John Carpenter movies.
and what's cool about that vinyl is it's bubblegum pink. That's right. From Sacred Bones. Anyway, yeah. That's a pretty sweet release. All right, Ted, what's your favorite?
Record on. Put it on.
Are you done, Andy?
Never.
Yes, sorry.
I am going to go with Psycho Goreman Hunky Boy Ultimate Edition. It came with an alternate cover, trading cards. I adore this
Such a
movie.
hunky boy.
I loved what they did with the packaging. Yeah, that's my pick.
And Andrew.
My pick is, and it probably would have came out in not even made it into 2021. It probably would have came out earlier, but I think they had intel on some like deleted scenes, which unfortunately they could not find. But since it was delayed for so long and it was anticipated, it is Event Horizon Special Edition from Scream Factory.
Ooh. Pretty excited for that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I know Twitter only lets us. Brian doesn't know this, but Twitter only lets you have 4 answers to a poll. But if there was 5, Brian, what would you pick as your favorite release from 2021?
Well,
If not one of these,
yeah, it's not one of those. It is from Arrow Video.
I've heard of them. Mm-hmm.
Last year, they put out what I would consider the single greatest home video release ever of anything with their box set of the Gamera movies. And
You would say that, yeah.
yeah, but they followed that up with realizing that Daiei Studios, which is now owned by a company called Katakawa, are a lot easier to deal with than Toho. So rather than try to pay a giant pile of money for licensing Godzilla stuff, they continued down the Daiei path and just recently put out the Daimajin trilogy, which are a series of movies which are they're sort of like historical Jidaigeki Chambara movies, which is samurai movies set kind of during the Edo period and the Reformation and all that, warring states kind of stuff. And but so villagers are set upon by evil samurai. They ruin their village and they go and pray to their mountain god, this giant stone statue called the Daimajin, and it wakes up and stomps into town and squishes all the evil samurai And those movies are great. And Arrow gave it just as much love as they did the Gamera stuff. It comes with a booklet, super fancy, real heavy stock box that it comes in. Tons of great extra features, commentary tracks, documentaries, video essays, so on and so forth. And these are movies that they were released briefly on Blu-ray a while ago from Mill Creek with no extras, just the movies. And that was out of print and had been cost a fortune forever. So Arrow once again comes to the rescue, and that might be dethroned by a release coming this fall. They're doing the Daiei yokai movies, which was
cool.
Daiei Spook Warfare, Yokai Spook Warfare, Yokai 100 Ghosts, and Yokai Along with Ghosts. And those movies are awesome. They've been out of print forever, and I'm super stoked. The extras on this look like they're going to be even more extensive than the Daimajin ones.
Are those in public domain?
No. No, they have to be licensed.
Because you said Mill Creek did a set of those, and I have a set of those too that was put out by freaking Fredel and Ray's label
right.
on DVD.
The Daimajin movies, the ones on the Fredel on the retro media set that you've got, and the ones that were on the Mill Creek ones, they had the old AIP TV dubs of the first two, and okay. I don't think they actually bothered to license the third one because those TV edits, I think, are public domain over here. There's some weird stuff because that's a whole reason. Like everyone caused a big stink over the Criterion Godzilla set not having the dubs, and that's because the rights to those dubs are owned by different people than Toho. It's just a labyrinthine bullshit of copyright law.
Yeah.
So this is the first time we've had like really good subs, dubs, everything of the Daimajin movies, and then coming up of the yokai movies.
So if he, if he had a 4-spot, that 12-minute rant would definitely not fit on Twitter.
Yeah.
So vote for that one, I guess.
You knew what you were getting when you had me on.
Absolutely true. All right, everyone, get your butts over to Twitter at AOTKP. Get your votes in for who you think picked the best release from 2021, and that is Pole Position.
All right, guys, it is time now to get into our unwrapping.
You love this episode.
I do.
Because it's like a smorgasbord of...
Yeah,
it's not
we're
real
stuck
topic,
in one
really.
topic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, it feels kind of like Christmas when you get to unwrap that DVD or Blu-ray. We're going to start with Andy. What movie did you bring to the table?
Okay, I'm very, very excited. I have a Vinegar Syndrome release from 1988, and it is called Hell Comes to Frogtown.
In the future, after the big war, there will come a time to rebuild and a need for a new and special kind of soldier.
This man is carrying a loaded weapon.
Prepare to meet the next great American hero.
That's where you come in.
Are you serious?
His name is...
Hell. Sam Hell.
Never heard of you.
We're going to Frogtown.
And this is the adventure he's been waiting for.
We're gonna get him out, and then you're gonna get him pregnant.
And if anyone's got a chance in hell of rescuing the virgins from the evil clutches of Toady...
It's a miracle.
Right. Let's go.
And escaping from Frogtown...
Go, 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 go!
It's Sam.
Shit. Holy shit!
Be there for the action. The adventure.
Sam! What are you doing?
And be there for the dance of the three snakes.
Dance or die! We're all gonna die.
When hell comes to Frogtown. Starring Roddy Piper as Sam.
Get it off!
You are one weird dude. Sandal Bergman as Nurse Spangle. Wired to blow. Hell comes to Frogtown.
Eat lead, froggies!
Oh man, that trailer not only is it hilarious, but it just told the whole damn movie. Here we go. After a worldwide nuclear war where 68% of the male population was wiped out and virile men becoming a rarity, Sam Hell, a scavenger and a highly virile man, is assigned to help rescue a group of fertile women kidnapped by humanoid frogs. Yeah, like the character of Bull, which is very creative because he's a goddamn bull frog. You are one weird dude. This is one weird movie, and I loved every minute of it.
Sorry, real quick. This was a first time watch for you?
I watched it years ago. It has been probably maybe 10 to 12 years since I've seen this, so I forgot mostly about it, but I actually snagged. Go ahead.
I was going to say, how do you say you don't watch Joe Bob without saying you don't watch Joe Bob?
It just when you picked this movie, I'm like, I was confused. Like, how can Andy?
Such an Andy movie.
It is totally an Andy movie. Well, Roddy Piper alone, right?
Wow. But yeah, actually, this is my first time too. I'm just piggybacking on Andy's. I think I actually fell asleep or something during the Joe Bob. So, and I did rewatch the Joe Bob version too, because I know everyone's really concerned about my Blu-ray collection and what I open or not, but I also
most of it.
So we don't have 47 movies to talk about tonight. I just kind of piggybacked on Andy's, but yeah, this movie's something, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's
loved it.
It is unlike anything that you will ever see. The Blu-ray that Vinegar Syndrome put out, the interview with Roddy Piper, just talking about the making of it, is hilarious. Because he says that his wife did not know what this movie was about, and he's in his trailer, and like Sandal Bergman comes in with like in pretty much scantily clad, she's like wearing finger symbols and like a bra and panties, and his wife is in there, he's talking with his wife, and she's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you had company." And then his wife is like looking at him like, "Okay, what the fuck is going on?" So, basically it's, 10 minutes of, Rowdy explaining as to why he was doing this movie and, making sure that his 4'11" wife doesn't try to murder him. But it was good to see Rory Calhoun,
yes,
Farmer Vincent in this movie. Sandal Bergman, you may recognize her from, freaking Conan the Barbarian, Red Sonja, whatever. Just the over the topness of this movie is what really makes it. I mean, if you tried to do this serious, it would it would fall flat on its face. I mean, so they knew what they were making, and it's so damn cheesy. Like the one thing that just almost had me in tears, like when Sandal Bergman is captured, and she's like in that dominatrix gear, and then that Bull, the guy named Bull, he's got her captured, right? And he wraps her around like this railing like 2 or 3 times that wouldn't hold anybody, and then he just gets in her face and goes, blah, 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 just walks off. Yeah. What the fuck was that? Dance of the Three Snakes. I mean, basically, it's trouser snakes. If you're not getting that pun at all, and
they never really showed it, so.
But yeah, I mean, it's if you just want to have like a really good time and just not take this movie, you can't take this movie seriously at all, because if you tried, you wouldn't enjoy it. But I think this movie is a freaking blast. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles can kiss my ass. This is the movie to watch. You've just got this giant pink, Chevy conversion van with like an M90 on it, with like this ridiculously good-looking soldier, pointing, just yeah, it's awesome. It's a total guy movie, and girls should love it too because it's just a hell of a fun time. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got.
You bringing up the Ninja Turtles now kind of makes me wish there was like a live action crossover movie with the Battletoads.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
that would do it.
I want a Nika Sam Hell, Ultimate Sam Hell, but that will never happen.
No, if they can't make
not-
Snake Plissken or they can't make Jack Burton, they're not making this like third-rate version.
Exactly.
Not unless Vinegar Syndrome starts a partnership with Nika, which also would mean that there's a possibility that we'd get a Jamie Gillis action figure, which would be fucking awesome. I hope it comes with an enema bag.
I don't think they're in the business of like throwing away money.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah.
Hell Comes to Frogtown is awesome. I first saw this way back in the day on USA Up All Night. And
That's
yeah,
how you have to say it.
it is how you have to say it. I think Roddy Piper is hilarious in this. His overreaction to things, it cracks me up every time. This is directed by his name is Donald Jackson, who is known in the B movie, Z grade movie world for just some of the most bizarre movies he made through like the 80s. His first movie was The Demon Lover, which has Gunnar Hansen in it. And Gunnar Hansen had such a horrible experience working on that movie that is why Gunnar Hansen quit the business for decades.
Jesus.
There's a documentary out about Demon Lover that I've been trying to find for years, and I can't find it. I don't remember the name of it. That's why I can't find it. But this guy also had an obsession with like rollerblades because he made several there's like Rollerblade Warriors, Rollerblade 7, Return
Right
of the
for the
Rollerblade
Rollerboys.
7.
I remember back when my buddies and I forgot when I was saying earlier the Godzilla and Doctor Who and all that stuff, that covering the bases. The other thing I didn't bring up was my high school movie nights. We rented Rollerblade 7 one night, and oh my god, that movie is terrible.
There's this book. It's one of the few books I've read from beginning to end that's not a book about movies, but well, I guess it is.
Is
book
it the
about movies.
novelization of Rollerblade 7?
No, it is I guess a movie book about movies, but it's called Teen Wolves, Astro Zombies, and I forget the whole title right now. But basically, this guy does this year-long challenge where he tries to watch all the worst movies he can find, and he has like a whole freaking chapter on Donald Jackson movies. But so I think with this said, there was another like a co-director on this movie that I feel like maybe why this
RJ
movie stands out over the rest of Donald Jackson's films, because at the end of the day, I feel like this movie, for especially what it is, it's very well made, really competently directed. It looks really good, again, for the type of movie that it is. The frog costumes, I think, look great, even though they don't always move, but they look great. They're nice and slimy. They don't just look like a freaking cheesy mask or whatever. The comedy hits in the right spots, I think. And I think as far as like, if I want to throw this into, I kind of throw this a little bit into like a 70s, 80s cheesy sexploitation movie where they take a theme and try to force, sex into this theme of nudity and stuff. And this one really does a good job with it. Like, you can sit here and be like, okay, this makes sense why this girl's going to completely strip naked and try to jump on Roddy Piper. So I'm a fan of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if the other director had that much to do with the movie being good, because the producers at New World Pictures, which this is not the Roger Corman New World Pictures now, this is after he sold the company, and they were, in fact, I think this might have been the movie that bankrupted them, which is why the 3 sequels to this movie were all direct-to-video. This was their last theatrical movie. they basically said you're spending too much money. We don't like what's going on here, and they fired him and got like the editor or somebody to finish directing the movie, or maybe it was the sound recordist.
Okay.
But I think a lot of the good stuff about the movie was from Don Jackson, as much as those Rollerblade movies aren't very good. But, he could turn around movies on a tiny budget. He was making movies for like under $10,000 before this. So this was the most money he ever had to work with. And that's why, the frogs look so great, because he got Steve Wang to build them. Steve Wang's a fucking effects genius. And he also then went on to direct the 2 live-action Guyver movies, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, those movies are great. Coming out, I think they're both out on Blu-ray now. But anyway, so like this movie is on the surface, like you were saying, kind of the silly sexploitation, booby USA up all night kind of a thing.
You said it right.
And it is on the surface, but there's so much clever stuff going on underneath the surface too. Like with at the very opening scene, when there's a character dressed head to toe, you can't see their face, right? They got heavy gloves on, they got like a beekeeper mask and helmet, they got goggles, their face is covered with a scarf, but you hear him ribbit. So, based on the title of the movie, you assume he's a frog. And he's scavenging some scrap metal or something, and he gets knocked down by somebody, and he pulls a gun to defend himself, and the guy tells him, you can't have that. Everybody knows greeners can't have guns. And the guy who tells him that is a black guy. So it's like flipping, it's this social commentary that the frog people are that much lower on the run. I mean, this is, how many years ago was this movie made? Almost 30-ish?
88.
Now?
Yeah.
80, yeah. So, I mean, talk about ahead of its time social commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then on the other side, the way it so comedically satires the post-apocalyptic movies from that time, the Mad Maxes and stuff. That stuff's really great.
Oh, it's brilliant. And Roddy Piper is in a long line of wrestlers proving that they have amazing timing skills because of how they have to work those fights, that it translates so well to comedy. And these days you got John Cena and Dave Bautista, ripping it up in comic book movies and comedies and things like that. But Roddy Piper is a fantastic actor, even though he was really paranoid that he was going to suck and worked really hard with an acting coach. Like, he really gave it his all for this movie, and it totally worked.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't even, maybe he needed the acting coach, maybe he didn't, but it seems so natural. He's just so charismatic and funny and likable. You just want to have a beer with the guy.
Yeah, his performance, I feel like, definitely elevates everything, everything that's going on in the movie. Because you can't necessarily say that about some of the other actors in the film.
Yeah, I remember Joe Bob saying that he definitely wasn't the first choice for this movie, and that all the actors that auditioned before him tried to play into it, and like he was just sincere. He just played it straight, and they kind of liked it for that.
When you got to, you
have to.
You have to. Or else,
this is ridiculous.
Or else the comedy doesn't work.
Yeah.
You got to play it straight.
Has anyone seen any of the sequels where he's replaced by Robert Z'Dar?
No.
Oh, is that who replaced it? I've never seen any of the sequels. Yeah. No. Oh my God.
This was a first time watch about a year ago when it was on The Last Drive-In, and for that purpose, like being on The Last Drive-In, it's a perfect fit. And hearing Joe Bob tell stories about it and that kind of stuff, it took me back to like discovering movies on Monster Vision. I think I actually remember seeing They Live on Monster Vision years ago, but just like, I don't know, this probably isn't something I would have just put on. It's definitely something, looking at the cover, I would assume Andy owned on every format.
Right?
And when I watched it, I definitely got vibes of like Big Trouble and Escape from New York, where it's like, everywhere he goes, it's like, hell, like, oh, I don't know you. And he's just sort of traveling this weird world. I don't know. It gives me those vibes, and I of course love Roddy Piper and Hot Chicks, and it's fun. But it's like I said, I rewatched it again with Joe Bob because I'm not sure I would appreciate it without the nuances and little interruptions. He adds so much to it. So I know we talk about him too much on the show, but
you can't talk too much about Joe Bob.
That's right.
I actually saw this movie for the first time on Monster Vision, so it was kind of nice to see it again with him on The Last Drive-In, and that's how I rewatched it too, was the Last Drive-In episode, and I was thinking this was from the most recent season. I forgot this was the finale to season 2.
Yeah.
So I was looking going, oh my God, did Shudder lose the rights? What's happening? And then I kicked back up to the second season, scrolling through the episodes and went, oh shit, it was that long ago? Because it just all, Joe Bob lives in all our hearts.
But I think it's a perfect fit for that format.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this may be the first time I ever watched the movie straight through, without somebody popping in. I've seen it several times. Monster Vision, USA Up All Night, and then Last Drive-In. And this time around, it's the first time I watched it without any interruptions. It was weird.
And Brian kind of said it already, but I think clearly my favorite part of all of it was the effects, the frog people. I mean, it's just they're just great, and
makeup's really fantastic for what
it is.
It's not a huge
for the budget and what it is. It's like it far exceeded anything that it should have been.
Yeah, I think if you had really bad makeup or hokey effects, it really would have taken away because I thought it's just really well done for what it is. Like, it's such a ridiculous premise that it has no right for being as good as it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yes, hell comes to Frogtown.
On Shudder, # sponsor.
So, the moment I've been waiting for this episode, I should have saved this one for last, but Tad, what movie did you bring to the show?
This one might be a surprise for people listening, but it's from 1989. It is Nightmare Beach.
1 week of non-stop partying guarantees to blow away so many brain cells you won't even remember your name. Oh, wow! Every one of these years, by sunrise Easter morning, I'm telling the whole school you're a bender.
I want to get off of this thing!
Welcome to spring break, the annual migration of the idiot.
Hey, biker parking only. Get a grip. Chill out. Look, we don't want any trouble, all right?
Edward Diablo Santor, the state stands ready to execute you as charged. Do you have any last words?
May the Lord have mercy on you.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Some drunk breakers, thinking it's a fun trick. Sick
Diablo's biker buddies.
He vowed he was coming back. This is yours. Assaulting an officer with a deadly weapon. That's cause to blow your fucking pretty head off. Who killed my friend? Who?
Okay, after the execution of a motorcycle gang leader convicted of murder, a helmeted biker goes on a killing spree during spring break in Florida. Nightmare Beach came out in 1989, directed by Umberto Lenzi and James Justice. We've got several writers on this. James Justice, again, Umberto Lenzi, and Vittorio Rambaldi. This has some names you might recognize, such as a younger Michael Parks and John Saxton.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weird ass
completely
spring
squandered
break
in this one.
slasher with a killer who rides a motorcycle and murders people with his motorcycle. I had a blast. This was a blind buy from the Kino Lorber sale.
Nice.
Probably 6 months or so ago, and I pulled the trigger on it, and just from the description alone, this one was a lot of fun. I can't wait to hear what the rest of you guys thought of this one.
Mike, before we get into anything else, I just got to ask you this. Did you feel like a proud papa when you found out what Ted's pick was? Because I did.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes. When he first posted it, I'm like, oh my God. I'm so proud.
But I thought you thought we were all going to hate it. I mean, except for you two.
I just don't. I mean, this is a movie I would pick, so I just don't know.
Huh.
Who has? Well, is this a first watch for a lot of us?
First for me.
For me.
For me too, actually. Yes. I passed up this one on that very same Kino Lorber sale. I remember you talking to you about it.
Yep.
Only because I bought like 10 other fucking movies on that sale. I was like, God damn it, I can't justify one more. I can't afford to save any more money.
Yeah. This is two different movies in one. Like I love this. I really enjoy the movie, but like, but I like the 80s beach party stuff way more than the killer stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I loved it. It just felt like all the ski schools and the 80s movie, the music just stupid and terrible and loud.
Two buddies, just dumb jock jokes and swimsuits and
Yes, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah, it felt like that Umberto Lenzi was like trying to jump on a trend or something, but it still had his taste, like his flair to it. So it was really weird juxtaposition, like and somehow it works in its own dysfunctional way.
It's not an Italian film, but it's an Italian film,
right?
Well, I mean, it kind of is. I mean, the Rambaldi brothers and Lenzi, although it is the most American Italian film I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I can agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, I still feel like it's got, a lot. It still has a lot of Italianisms to it, but
yeah. So, like Lenzi, his name is attached to this by horror fans because everyone knows Umberto Lenzi, right? You got Cannibal Ferox, you got Nightmare City, so on and so forth. And he was originally going to be the one and only director, but he had a falling out with the producers, and he wanted to be taken off the movie. He felt it was too similar to a film that he'd made a few years ago, or not a few years ago from now, a few years ago from this movie, called Seven Bloodstained Orchids, and he decided that he didn't want to put his name on this because people would think he was just repeating himself. So the James Justice, which is a pseudonym for a guy named Harry Kirkpatrick, was the co-writer. He was given the director chair, and he's the one who gets the credit. But Lenzi stayed on largely due to Kirkpatrick's insistence. Like, no, you're this great horror master. You got to stay here and help us out. So Lenzi stayed on and was kind of an advisor around the set and that kind of thing. But his name got taken off, and for a long time, people thought Harry Kirkpatrick was just another alias for Lenzi, right? Because Italian horror directors, they all make films under 700 different names, right? Especially Joe D'Amato, but they all kind of do it. But no, Harry Kirkpatrick was a real guy, and he co-wrote the movie and largely directed most of this. Lenzi did some before he decided he didn't want to have any part in it. But this Harry Kirkpatrick guy directed several other horror movies too, very more in Italian mode too. There's one called Primal Rage, for example, which is kind of a precursor to 28 Days Later, in that it involves people being injected by some sort of rage virus extracted from monkeys and going crazy at a Halloween party. And then Vittorio and Alex Rambaldi, of course, if you recognize that last name, Rambaldi, they were the sons of Carlo Rambaldi, the effects guy, who built the creature for Alien and E.T. and so on and so forth. So.
Small world.
Yeah.
No, I had a blast with this one. I'm glad. Like, I was not sure buying it, and then I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear what they have to say. But this is one that's it's going to be rewatchable for me. Like, this is just fun. It's something I'd probably watch every spring. It's like I actually picked this one because not only because it's needed to unwrap it, but it's like a nice cap to the summer. We're getting into fall now, and this is like a dumb beach horror movie. But
that's awesome. I'm just glad to hear that you liked it, and it might be a seasonal staple movie for you.
I feel like I need to watch this again to even appreciate it more. The effect that you have a killer he kills people with like an electric chair motorcycle.
That was fucking awesome.
Okay.
Tad's gonna get that feature put on his scooter.
That it's a little sidecar, but the fact that this movie's dated because I'm totally sure that the Me Too movement is going to love Ronnie Rivera and just his exploits. Yeah, he when he gets killed, I didn't really feel bad for him because he's such a sleazy little bastard. But yeah, it's like a typical, mid to late 80s sort of college party theme.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, we're going to drink some beer. We're going to have some fun. We're going to drink beer and have fun.
Oh, look out, a motorcycle. Okay.
I also just carried around to football. Yeah, like football.
Yeah.
All I remember from this movie is that damn music. Because when the credits came up and it says Claudio Simonetti's doing the score, I'm like, yes, this is gonna be. And then all I remember is the '80s rock music, like you heard in the trailer. That's all just shitty music. And I'm like, that wasn't.
Hey,
what? Yeah, I love it. I loved it.
You mean
the soundtrack?
comparatively?
I mean, granted, this is not quite on the same par as Phenomena.
No,
for having kick-ass rock bands on the soundtrack.
I was thinking of Demons.
Yeah,
that too. Yeah,
but this, all I remember is just that. I don't know, not the good stuff, the bad stuff. I don't know.
But okay, when the killer is murdering the girl with the furnace that totally doesn't actually work that way, when he's just using it as a flamethrower,
right?
And he's got her tied up in front of the door.
What the hell?
And as he's turning up the fire so it shoots out in that jet, the more fire that comes out, the louder the music gets. Come on. That was awesome.
Sure. What I'm trying to say is the music made an impact on me in this movie. I liked it.
That's awesome.
Mike would have never guessed it was 5 for 5 on this one.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
That might change though on the next one. We'll see.
Go Gators! Right in the guy's face. Go Gators!
Jumps into the car. Into the backseat of a stranger. I like to think that this is how they view Americans. They're like, they'll go to Florida and bring a bunch of condoms and hit on everybody around, and there'll be wet t-shirt contests everywhere, and drunken football players, and an angry motorcycle gang.
That is 100,000% accurate. So I guess they're right.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for John Saxon as a villain, right?
Oh,
yeah. What a pecker.
We're so used to seeing him as a hero. It's kind of weird to see him as the scary guy, but man, he pulls it off. He's great.
He's a hard ass.
John Saxon and Michael Parks just felt like wasted in this movie, though. I mean, they're so awesome.
R.I.P. Both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's great to see him.
Awesome. Yay. All right. So Brian, what's your movie?
Yeah, let's think about Brian's shelf of movies and what could he possibly have on there.
So, ever since you guys first started doing these Unwrapped episodes, I've been bugging you, like, oh, next time I want to do it. And every time you'd have somebody else. And eventually it got to the point where Tad and Jason wouldn't stop getting dick pics until you allowed me to come on and do one of these, right?
To be fair, we've never had a guest on Unwrapped until now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have Larry Watanabe. He's going to feel real sad you forgot him.
Well, I was just thinking that it's always been one that we avoid guests with because there's already 4 movies that we have to watch.
Yeah. So
Did Larry send you a dick pic too?
No comment.
We wish.
Get on that, Larry.
So when I was talking to John from the Twitch of the Death Nerve podcast about being asked to come on and do this, and I told him what I was going to pick, he said, "You should be ashamed of yourself." So I picked, because I was literally saving this movie for whenever this happened, was out of the Redemption video distributed by, again, the great Kino Lorber, Jean Rollins' 1970s The Nude Vampire. And the fact that the trailer that Jason just played was nothing but improvisational trumpet music ought to tell you something about the movie you're about to watch.
Right?
So Pierre Radamant is out for a walk one night and comes across a woman wearing a diaphanous neon orange veil being chased by some people in strange animal masks. He attempts to help her evade them, but they wind up cornered, and she is shot dead while he manages to escape. He later tracks the group of people in animal masks back to a club operated by his father, strange industrialist, I guess, random rich guy, George Radamante, and he finds out that the girl is actually still alive, even though he saw her die. And there's a suicide cult that worships her. And then they move to a chateau in rural France, owned by a strange nobleman wearing a vaguely comic booky looking outfit, and then things get really weird. Go. I have some stuff, but I really want to hear how much you all hated this movie first.
Well, I'll ease into it. I was trying to find what I wrote to you about it, what I said.
I remember texting you while I was watching it going, oh my God.
I said,
You're all going to be so mad at me.
I just said I think I like this movie at the end of the day.
In theory, that's what you said. I liked it in theory.
I said, in general, in theory, I think I liked it. I appreciate the artistry. This is an art piece, and not just because it's Frenchy, but like it all comes through. Like it's such a art piece.
Well, you like it because it's an old-timey A24 movie.
There you go. That's might be it.
Wow. I never thought about it like that, but that is a real... No. That is genuinely a really good way to describe Jean Rollins' movies in general, not just this one, to audiences now who have never heard of him. That is bang on.
I also I'm like, I was debating on whether I would say this or not, but there was a point last night before I went to bed after I'd watched it that like now bear with me. I'm serious. Mike, you're looking me in the eye. Why are you laughing? I'm being serious.
You can't expect me to take you seriously when you start off by saying, I'm serious.
I'm going to be serious right now. Look into my eyes. I was there. Maybe I don't even know how to say it right, but there's a point last night where I'm like, I might seriously start wearing a cape
should.
What the fuck?
Why the fuck not? That dude was fucking awesome.
You would look great in a cape.
That dude didn't give a fuck. He's wearing a cape and he was the badass. And like, I'm like, nobody wears a cape. Why the fuck don't I wear a cape?
You could bring back capes.
I'm just gonna start from what? No one ever started. So what am I bringing it back from? A comic book, anyway. But I seriously thought. I mean, I literally went to bed thinking I might fucking have to get a cape, guys. I might need a cape because that guy fucking rocked it. And
I feel like I've seen you in a cape, X-Ray Mary.
that's
show.
True. Maybe I'm just having flashbacks.
It looked
Halloween
fucking
party.
good.
I know.
I remember
what I'm saying.
I remember going to bed that night thinking Jason should always wear a cape.
So what I'm saying is, I already have a cape, and I might just start wearing it. So that's one of my favorite parts about this movie is it encouraged me to maybe start wearing a cape. Sorry, Brian.
No, that's cool. You should wear a cape. That's fantastic.
This is literally the most times I've heard the word cape in the past 2 fucking minutes that I have in the past maybe 20 fucking years.
I like that's the impression that it left on Jason. Not, any of the weird masks or the, over the top nudity or the just weird music. But the cape, man.
Yeah, man. You fucking rocked it.
I gotta say that these guys say that they're studying this vampire chick for science, but they've got to be the worst fucking scientists I've ever seen in my life. When it comes to like testing a theory, let's shoot them. Let's see what happens. And they keep shooting them, and it doesn't work. It's just like I'd say your theory's flawed. They tried like all sorts of different ammo. It's just like. Shooting them does not work. You had the grease gun and all this other shit, and I'm just like, okay. By then, I just didn't even know what the fuck was going on anyway. So I tried.
When the people in the animal masks shoot her, that's just to incapacitate her so they can carry her back. The other people who are shooting themselves in when they're wearing the hoods and all that, they're actually a cult who worship her because she's immortal. George Radamant has sort of taken this whole cult in to his Eyes Wide Shut party mansion because he doesn't really give a fuck about the cult. They're just kind of a handy group of people to have as henchmen, right? But he's this eccentric rich guy, and he wants to find the secret of her immortality. That's why they keep drawing blood and doing all these tests. He's a shitty scientist because he's not a scientist. He's just a rich guy who wants to live forever. And he figures by extracting enough of her blood and studying it enough, he can figure out what biological function it is in her body that allows her to come back from being shot. He's just a bored rich guy who wants to live forever.
And all of what Brian said is in the movie, but I don't know. It's easily deducted.
It's not conveyed very well.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what Mike thought because I know how he feels about A24 movies and slow movies, but I know it's a movie from the 70s and it's a movie that Brian picked and he likes what Brian does. So I know he wants to make.
Anybody want to take bets?
I don't think you liked it.
I did not like
slow,
it.
Too slow.
It was too slow.
That makes me so sad.
I know. Here's to quote Jason. Here's the thing.
Capes are cool.
Capes are cool. Jean Rollin, I am not as versed as I want to be. I have yet to really pull the trigger on his filmography.
You would like his movies from the early 80s more, I think. You should check out Night of the Hunted and The Grapes of Death and Living Dead Girl. I think those would probably be the three of his that you would react to the most favorably.
I was going to say the only movie of his that I've seen is Zombie Lake and
And that doesn't count because he was just hired he was brought on as a hired gun to direct that after Jess Franco quit.
Oh, okay. But the other one that I've seen of his is Grapes of Death, and I love Grapes of Death. So you are hitting the nail on the head right there and on his movies that I would like. Is that one? Yes, I love that movie. But yeah, this one's just too slow. It's not weird enough for me.
Huh. Did you hear that?
Based on its pacing. It's not the weirdness does not hold my attention long enough for how slow everything is. The masks and stuff is cool looking. The eroticism was not erotic at all. In particular, there's one scene that I want while I'm watching this movie, and that's the guy, the photographer taking the photos of the naked black woman, and she's like squeezing her boobs and rolling around and
for
whatever.
5 minutes straight.
No, that scene was agony. Even for me, that was a hard one to sit through.
Thank you. Okay, it reminded me so much of like in the latter days of Ed Wood and his softcore porn films, and I'm like, was this done by Ed Wood? Like, it just really had like a pretty women all in a row vibe to it.
Would have been right at home in Orgy of the Dead for sure.
Yeah, and that not sexy at all, just boring as hell. It could be boring of watching a woman roll around naked but yeah, it was. So yeah, I'm sorry, not a fan. I want to be the one to give more of his movies a chance. And again, Grapes of Death is awesome, but
so this might help with that a little bit. This was only his second feature film. He grew up during the Second World War, got into cinema at a very young age. I think it was maybe early 40s when he saw his first movie in the theater, and was like, this is what I want to do, and went through the whole thing of like working in the business, doing all sorts of little piddly jobs and moving up and up and up the ranks until eventually, and he was making short films on his own while he was making a living doing industrial shorts and animated things and working on title sequences and so on and so forth. So then he finally made his first feature film, Rape of the Vampire, I think a year ahead of this one, which was intended to be a short and then got picked up, but they wanted it to be a feature. And so the first half of Rape of the Vampire is a very different movie from the second half because they're literally two different movies made at two different times. But it got put out in the theater at a time when the public at large were rioting and protesting the Charles de Gaulle government at the end of the 60s. So I think that and maybe one other movie were literally the only things released in the theater at the time. So by default, it made a shit ton of money. So he was automatically like, okay, you can make whatever you want, except we want another vampire movie because your last vampire movie made a lot of money. So he was the sexy vampire guy forever.
Yeah.
But this was his first movie in color.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know that, looking at some of the scenes in this movie, you can really see it. He just went absolutely wild. And some of his later movies were a little more sedate color-wise, but with this one, it almost feels like getting to play with color film for the first time was the most important part of the movie. And he just came up with the plot almost as he went. There seemed like, even down to the animal masks that the people are wearing when they hunt the girl down at the beginning, they're very vivid colors. They kind of, they sort of predate the masks in Wicker Man by several years, but instead of looking like these drab pagan things, they're bright purple and green, and there's lots of shots of close-ups of them, and there's shots of that whatever that machine is that's got all the little vials of chemicals in it that are separating the blood when they're doing the experiments, that's full of this neon purple and yellow and orange and green and all these garish colors, and all the costumes are these beautiful colors. Even the nude vampire, quote unquote, because she's never actually naked, even though you can see straight through her gown, but she's wearing like neon orange the whole time, you know? So yeah, this being his first movie in color, it feels like oh my God, I can shoot in color and everything else is secondary.
I love getting the history lessons from Bryan on cinema that I like, that I don't get to hear a lot of people talk about. But sadly, I was slightly distracted by the fact that Jason is currently on Amazon right now looking up capes. He really is. I'm not even kidding.
I don't know what color to pick.
That's awesome.
There's so many cool capes, guys.
Jesus Christ.
So Rollins movies are usually surreal, and one of the when you think of European horror movies from this time period, most of the movies that are going to pop into your head are Italian, and a few Spanish ones too, with Paul Naschy and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So with France, they're not really so much known for their horror films, but they have something called, and I don't speak French, so I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but cinema fantastique, right? Mm-hmm. So it's more of a fantasy thing. So Rollins movies are dreamlike, not in the Italian horror like Fulci or Argento mood that makes them jarring, like you're watching somebody's nightmare.
Yeah.
But they're usually ethereal and very melancholy. And this one doesn't capture the melancholy as much because, again, like I was saying earlier, he's so focused on the color. It's more of a science fiction movie, actually, when you finally find out what is going on and why they're not vampires. But his movies are almost never horror in the sense that they're scary, even though he made a lot of movies about vampires and did a few about zombies and some other stuff. Yeah. But they're more romantic, right? Like poems or paintings, especially this one, come to life. And they have a tendency to have these strange plots that don't really let you in on what's happening. And they just kind of expect you to keep up. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of Rollins movies. And I've watched quite a few of them now. And despite the fact that they're really slow paced and you have to sit and read the subtitles and so on, but you're always waiting for that next hint of plot development because it just kind of feeds you the story as tiny little bit at a time in between all these strange, surreal things. And even his cheapest movies, like this one was, made for a very tiny budget. They're visually stunning. Like the shot of the twins walking down the staircases toward the end once they've moved to the chateau. And and Pierre is dead center in this foyer, right? And there's this huge balcony all around the room and these two staircases on either side. And these twins walk down and the staircases are enclosed, but there's a little porthole window. And at one point, it's timed so that the twins walk past the porthole at the same time with their torches. Or towards the end of the movie when the mutants, which is actually what they are. This is kind of a science fiction proto-X-Men movie where the quote-unquote vampires are actually the next step in human evolution. And they live at this chateau in rural France because behind the barn, there's an entrance to a pocket dimension where they can hide so people won't hunt them and kill them and experiment upon them. But the mutants at one point converge on the chateau to rescue Pierre and the unnamed, and I don't think she's ever given a name in the movie, the girl who's the catalyst for this whole thing. There's this amazing shot of the walls that surround the chateau, and slowly all the mutants emerge, but it's at night, and it's completely dark, but you can see kind of the railings and the staircases and things, and they all appear as these points of torchlight that are all moving around the railings and down the banisters and down the stairs and converging. And it's just these beautiful set pieces and everything looks like a piece of art. Like you could take any frame of this movie and put it, blow it up to the size of a movie poster and put it on your wall as a piece of art.
Agreed.
I still will give more of Rollins movies a chance. Yeah, so I'm not totally out of the camp yet for Rollins. I still think there's got to be some more there that will connect with me.
Yeah, like I said, you've already seen Grapes of Death. I recommend Fascination and Living Dead Girl as your next go-tos. Living Dead Girl was my introduction to him, and that's from that and Fascination are both in that same time period as Grapes of Death, where it's the early 80s. He's getting more money to make them. He's got a little more producer interference, so they're not quite as personal of movies. They don't have that melancholic meditation of death and eternity kind of thing as movies like this one and Lips of Blood. Well, this one doesn't even have so much of that melancholy either. Like I said, it's more of a colorful science fiction movie, but yeah, there's kind of something there for everybody. He took a long break. He made several porn movies as well to kind of finance things. There's a lot of European horror directors did around this time period. And he came back in the late 90s with a few final movies, and I tried to watch part of 2 Orphan Vampires, and it sucked.
Oh no! Oh no!
So yeah, stick with the classic period, but Demoniacs you might enjoy too. That's a little more of a straightforward story.
Okay, cool.
I'll tell you one thing. As far as a pick from Bryan goes, it didn't hurt nearly as bad as it could have. I thought so.
I agree. Like when he was sort of like relishing in the idea that we had to watch this. I'm like, at the very least, we got to see some tits. So it's like, you know, it could be much worse.
Oh man! All right. Well, let's move on then to my pick, which is from 2008, Splinter.
I think I'm gonna like camping. She looks not right.
Well, what do you want to do?
Turn it off. Get in the car.
Pull over.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Get inside!
What was that?
Move away from the glass. They tracks us somehow.
We gotta get out of this gas station.
Wait. Stopped. I think it's gone.
Drop the gun.
You're under arrest.
Get in your car. There's something out there.
Run! Watch the splinters. Don't want to stick you. Here!
It's gonna get near me. It's gonna kill it. You okay?
Don't touch it!
Polly and Seth are a couple that like to go around and guess the ages of trees, and while they are on one of their trips, they get held hostage by another couple and end up at a broken down Texas Chainsaw Massacre style gas station. Now trapped in the gas station by a nasty splinter parasite that transforms its victims into contorted monstrous hosts. They need to find a way to work together to survive all the shaky camera work. I thought this was a pretty cool movie. I really enjoyed it. It's a first time watch, obviously, for me. I know when this movie came out, there was a lot of fan love for it and a lot of buzz for it. So, I just never got around to this one until I think this was maybe a Dollar Tree purchase myself. So it sat in my pile forever, and I'm like, this is now the time to actually finally watch it. Very cool, some real awesome effects, and I do like the idea of like this group of people who obviously don't get along, but they do have to work together to try to survive. I like how the parasite thing isn't explained really much at all. The only thing that bugs me is just its overuse of the shaky camera work when all the action's going on, because you don't get to see shit when that's happening. It pisses me off. But what did you guys think?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I sort of can tell like how a movie's going to be if Nikki comes in and it's a podcast movie and she actually watches it with me. And she lasts all the way through.
Did she watch Nude Vampire with you?
No.
Boo!
This was the only one. And I did not look at any trailers. I did not read anything about it. All I knew was the year, and which surprised me that Mike was picking one that was the modern one on the list. But I really thought it was pretty tense, good performances, and like the two actors that were like, oh, where do I know them from? And I think one was in like Road Trip or something, some 2000s teen comedy, and then the other dude is the bad guy was in like everything. You know, he's one of those like character actors that plays like a cop or bad guy in fucking every TV show and movie. But I thought it was really intense. I thought for something that's been done to death, it almost, you know, borders on zombie type movie, but changing it up a bit to have this like weird splinter thing that can go from a dead animal to a tire, and it, you know, goes and affects someone. It's something that you can't just stay away from. I mean, you cut the hand off and then the hand's after you. I thought it was really cool, like pretty intense, and you know, you could tell it wasn't a huge budget movie, but really well done.
Yeah, it's not your typical, okay, this is a weird beast from the forest. This is almost like nature in and of itself striking back, in a sense. At least that's what the vibe that I got from it. But yeah, I'm with Tad on this one. I really liked this movie. Just yeah, it borders on, you know, like zombies with, you know, the infection and, you know, the cutting off where, you know, the infection is, you know, that's why the guy wants to get his arm cut off. By the way, they sawed through his arm with a box cutter, and then they broke it off with a goddamn cinder block. That was brutal.
That was hard.
So gnarly.
Oh shit. Yeah, that was great stuff. And I knew that right away that this was going to be an Insane Mike movie because it's basically one location, small cast, and it's just I always like those kind of movies too because I think it creates this weird sort of intimacy, you know, with, you know, the small cast and your audience. It's almost like a play. But yeah, I can't really add anything more than what Tad said. I just think it was awesome. It was done very well, and yeah, deputy got ripped in half, and they, you know, did the old coat hanger tricks, and yeah, it just worked really, really well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie. As Mike was talking about, this got a lot of love through Tread Central and all the horror media news outlets back in the day. One of the the forefront of we're going to do practical effects kind of movies, eschewing CGI that had taken things over and turned everything into an asylum movie for a long time. So I remember renting this right when it came out and thinking it was great. It's very reliant on shaky cam, and a lot of that has to do, I think, with not so much a stylistic choice as trying to hide the limitations of their practical effects, that maybe the monsters didn't move as well as they wanted them to, and so the attack sequences are very shaky cam. But the parts that you do get a good look at look great. There are only a few moments of really regrettable CGI. That main guy, the bad guy who Tad was saying was a character actor and everything, my favorite thing of his is he's the guy in Kong Skull Island, who is going to make the great noble sacrifice and just gets swatted out of the way by the skull crawler. But yeah, he's great in everything. But the creature idea is fantastic, and it does get explained. But if you're looking at your phone in the first 10 seconds of the movie, you have no idea what's going on. But the couple who get kidnapped, while they're on their way to their anniversary camping trip, drive past a sign that says experimental extraction oil field or something to that effect. So they're dropping this little hint that this, whatever this strange spiky parasite is, has been drilled up out of the deep earth, presumably slumbering since time immemorial. Maybe it's the thing that killed the dinosaurs. Who knows? They don't really say. And it doesn't really matter because that's not the point of the story. The point is paying attention to these people. And on that point, it's a little bit weaker. I love an unexplained monster or a very limited explanation for a monster. So that sign saying experimental oil field, that's cool. That's, that kind of style goes all the way back to the Weird Tales stuff in the 30s, that you don't have to explain everything, and that's fine. But then the thing that you're given to focus on really has to carry the weight. And the two good main characters, the couple who are on their anniversary trip, are great. And even the tweaky meth fiend girl who thinks the raccoon they ran over that's full of the parasite is her old dog is pretty good. And the performance of the main villain guy is great, but I don't like the way it was written, because I don't feel that they really earned that emotional 180 when they're sitting in the cooler and he explains that, oh no, I'm actually on my way to do this wonderful good deed. Like, you've been a horrible asshole this entire time.
Yeah.
And you've shown a little bit of concern for your meth tweaker girlfriend, but there's no hint of reticence for you to do violence towards these completely innocent people. And I think it would have been better even if all they had to do was make him look a little reluctant to kidnap these people and turn it into a hostage situation. But the fact that he is just so willing to destroy these people's lives, but then you find out he's going to this Herculean effort to rescue this widower of a trucker that he accidentally murdered. Well, maybe you shouldn't look so eager to murder more people then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with most everything you guys said. I like it, but I don't know how to say this either. Like, maybe you guys have it, and I don't mean this badly, I guess, but like when this movie started, my like ultra low budget alarm went off. Like, you can just tell this is like a sci-fi movie, like super low budget, from the fucking fonts to just the way the editing and the camera, like.
It was because the tent was a piece of shit, wasn't it?
No,
Jason?
well, it's because
I like how we were talking about Sledgehammer earlier, but this is the movie that triggers your ultra low budget.
He had a severe lack of capes.
Right. Right. Show me a cape. No, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, this it looks like a manufactured movie. It was like a studio says, here's a story, here's some money, go make a movie. And so at first I'm like, oh God, what did you do, Mike? What did you do? But then, the second I saw the Shea Wiggum guy, I'm like, oh, there's a real actor in this. Cool. And then, but even though I agree with you, Brian, like the story itself, the characters, maybe the casting, like I ended up caring about them, like in what was happening. So I maybe in the way that Hell Comes to Frogtown was a sum greater than its parts, I feel that way about this one too. Like, maybe it shouldn't have been as good as it was because it was probably super low budget, but it turned into a pretty good little action film feast, rip-offy kind of fun movie.
One of the things that I think puts this movie over maybe some other films in its subgenre is I like the idea on how the creature spreads, how it infects you through basically giving you splinters. Because we can all, that to me, some of that stuff is more painful because I know what a splinter is. I know what a splinter feels like. And I like when you can take those kind of things and make them even more horrific. We all, when somebody's getting their fingernails ripped off, we all cringe at those kind of things because they're more relatable than somebody's head exploding or whatever. And so the fact that this infection taps into a mental pain that we can all relate to of getting a splinter and dealing with a splinter and not being able to get that little fucker out when it gets up under your skin or whatever, is I think one of the cooler things of this movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I do love the creature and the way it spreads and the way it takes over. Like when it's taking over the criminal bank robber, hostage taker guy, when his fingers start bending the wrong direction.
Oh, fuck.
And he's like, oh, no, I'm just going to wrap this in a t-shirt and hope they don't notice. But then that bugged me when they later figure out that it hunts by heat.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why don't you just do the thing they do in the second Tremors movie? Because their solution is we're going to give one of us hypothermia to the point where they can barely function and then expect them to go pull the car around.
Yeah.
When all they had to do was take some more of those crappy souvenir t-shirts, wrap him up, and they're in a gas station. They're going to have at least one fire extinguisher, probably several. Just hose him down to the fucking fire extinguisher and run to the car. Their plan was needlessly complicated, and that's why they all died.
I can agree with that. I kind of thought that was, because it ended up being more of a hindrance than help. By chilling him down. I thought that at the time.
Because then you spend like 10 minutes of the movie just going on pause mode with him looking at his thermometer, like watching the temperature go up. Fucking just go.
Yeah, and that's a bummer because they're trying to create some suspense with that, but obviously it didn't work because the plan was so bad.
Yeah, and that sounds like me complaining, and it is, but I actually do really like this movie. Like, I own this movie on Blu-ray. I have watched it multiple times, and when you said this was your pick, I was like, oh, good. I've actually been meaning to rewatch this again anyway.
Nice.
Here's my excuse.
Cool. Yay. Splinter. Did everybody get to... Andy, did you talk about this one?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just getting loopy. Okay, so that is it for the films for this episode, but don't worry. We have a lot more show to come. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it'll be segments time here on Attack of the Killer Podcast. First, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. There are so many great shows on the network, including a show called The Movie Defenders. Movie Defenders is a podcast which discusses the positive aspects of popular movies. There are so many movie review podcasts out there that just spend the whole time tearing down the movies that you love instead of celebrating them. The Movie Defenders, what they do is they take popular movies that have been ridiculed by the critics and defend them, aka Movie Defenders. They have fun discussions of the movies you love, or perhaps make you reconsider a movie again that you didn't like the first time. So definitely check out the Movie Defenders. You can check them out and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show, and it's time for segments here on Attack of the Killer Podcast. First, we're going to hear from you guys. So here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked what horror movies that you haven't seen that's on your shelf still wrapped in plastic, and we know you have them. Up first on the Facebook page, we got Tim Lederer, Brian's old pal. Are they having B-Fest this year?
I think 2022 is the next possibility.
Man.
All right. Well, Tim says Survival of the Dead. I've heard wildly varying things about it, and sooner or later I'll give it a spin. It's good. Mike has no comments. Okay.
George Romero is awesome.
Good one. Then over on our Facebook group page, we got newly attacker Wes Worthing says,
hey.
For supporting a Kickstarter film, I received a handful of DVDs that I haven't watched yet, including The Black Gloves, The Devil's Machine, Lord of Tears and For We Are Many.
Lord of Tears is an interesting one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I can't wait to...
Yeah,
maybe
I
Wes
don't know
will start a
those names.
podcast and then talk about it. Up next, we got Attacker Brett Royer. He says, I bought it on Blu-ray without ever hearing about it. With a cover this sweet, how could you not? The Corpse
Grinders! Yes!
So
Yes.
get on Brett about watching that.
Some Ted Michaels action there, man. Probably his best movie ever.
Okay, Brian says
disagrees.
different. Okay.
No, well, I mean, yeah, it probably is Ted Michaels' best movie. I'm just saying Mike gets all excited about Ted Michaels, but poops all over my Jean Rollin.
Oh, we're splitting up the band tonight. All right.
Feed dead human beings to cats, and, I'm there, so.
Oh, man. All right, and then over on Instagram, we got Jared Rothbart at Mr_Torrance237 says, never seen a single Scream movie in my life.
Oh, my.
Old school is the best school. Is that Andy's alter ego?
I don't know, but I like this guy.
Yeah, you would. Gosh dang. And then lastly, over on Twitter, we got Patrick Wisdom fan account at Perky Alert Matt. He says the Saw boxed set. I haven't seen any of them.
Wow.
Pat, come on now. At least the first one. Oh, and then
Watch Jean Rollin movies instead.
Yeah. And then lastly, this one's pretty hilarious from Attacker Brian Godsill. He says, I feel like this question is a personal attack on my Dollar Tree collection. He knew it.
That's awesome.
He knew it.
We even called him out earlier.
Perfect.
That's amazing.
So you can leave us comments. You can also leave us a voicemail and let us know what movies you still need to unwrap. You can call us at 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail. We'll play your voice on the show. We would appreciate it, if only to know that our voicemail still works. So that has been shoutouts. But up next, folks, we aren't done yet. Oh my gosh, Insane's Picks.
We are still doing Insane's Picks Hall of Fame, and this inductee, we are going to talk about a Miami-based regional filmmaker with such classic films as Jaws of Death, Stanley, Sting of Death, and Blood Curse of Tartu. Exploitation filmmaker that would break all the rules, mostly because he didn't know any better. We're going to talk about William Greffey. William Greffey made films from the 1960s all the way into the 2000s and was a regional filmmaker that would often use the Florida Everglades to shoot a lot of his movies. He began as an actor while at Florida State University. Then he later did summer stock before taking his turn into a screenwriter. He wrote his first movie in 1963 called The Checkered Flag. The director of the film became sick and could not do the movie, so William took over in the director's chair. Not having any experience behind the camera, he basically learned his craft as he went along. His next movie was another race car flick called Racing Fever in 1964. After that was his first horror film, Sting of Death, in 1966, which is...
The Jilla Jalla Jellyfish.
Yeah, that's right. Sting of Death is kind of feels like more of a low-budget 1950s monster movie that was made in the mid-60s. Sting of Death is about a half-man, half-jellyfish monster that goes out and takes revenge on the people that mocked him by experimenting with deadly jellyfish. He attacks a bunch of cool cat swinging 60s teens in between all of their go-go dancing parties. My favorite thing about Sting of Death is the jellyfish monster suit itself, which is basically just a wetsuit with flippers and a beach ball head that you can clearly see the man's real head inside. This film also is noted with having Neil Sedaka, who recorded a pop dance song called Do the Jellyfish, which is featured on the soundtrack. Sting of Death was paired on a double bill with another William Grefke film, which he made also in 1966, called Death Curse of Tartu, which is another one of my favorites of his. Death Curse of Tartu is about a group of student archaeologists that venture into the Florida Everglades to look for fossils, but come across an area cursed by a Native American witch doctor. And the movie is based on a script that was written in one night, and the film was shot in 7 days. Jumping ahead to kind of stick with his horror films, he made Stanley in 1972. Now, Stanley is about a young Indian man who uses rattlesnakes to take revenge on all those he believed that had wronged him. On the set of Stanley, William wanted one of his actors to swim in a pool with live rattlesnakes. The actor didn't want to do it, refused to do it, so to compromise, William told the actor that they were just going to use rubber snakes instead. And so they called action, and William decided, to get a better performance, he decided to then throw live rattlesnakes in anyway. In 1974, he made a horror film starring William Shatner called Impulse. Now, Impulse is a movie about a paranoid leisure suit-wearing con man gigolo named Matt Stone, who seduces lonely women, steals their savings via investment scams, and then kills them. When he begins seeing an attractive widow, her daughter Tina becomes suspicious of his motives. Now, William Grafke was able to get William Shatner for this movie when he happened to run into him at the Miami International Airport. Now in his 90s, William is still going strong, working on stuff all the way up until like 2019. If you want to learn more about him, there's a documentary out there called From the Swamp, the films of William Grefke. So for this episode of Insane's Picks, we induct William Grefke into Insane's Picks Hall of Fame. Woo woo! So Brian, you like William Grefke too, huh?
I do, and now I feel like you just had me on this episode, so you'd have someone else on the show who knew who that was when you.
Exactly. I was kind of hoping. I mean, I knew better, but I was kind of hoping.
Yeah, I discovered him when I blind bought the Something Weird video double feature DVD of Sting of Death and Death Curse of Tartu.
Me too. Yeah. That's how I first discovered him too. Yeah. Yeah. Although I want to say I think I've seen Impulse like years ago, and then really never made the connection until I started really, after seeing those two movies, kind of digging into his filmography.
I've also seen, I'm drawing a blank on the title, but the movie he did with Richard Jekyll, the Willard knockoff with the shark.
Oh, Jaws of Death, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that is it, folks. That is this episode of Attack of the Killer podcast. Special thanks to our buddy Brian for being on.
Woo! Woo! Thanks for having me.
Finally got you on an unwrapping episode.
Yeah, stop with those pictures.
Awesome.
And we're not encouraging anyone who wants to be on an unwrapping episode to unwrap.
Also true.
Yourself.
Also true. But dude, you're always writing and stuff. What are you in? What's been out lately?
Still writing for Scream Magazine. You can check all that stuff out at screamhorrormag.com. I'm not in the latest issue, but I probably will have something in the one coming up. I don't know. You can also find me on Amazon with on my author page for the short stories I've had published. Bryan Clark. You can just search that author name, and as Tad informed me, there is another Bryan Clark spelled the same way who writes gay erotica. That's not me. If you like gay erotica, that's awesome, and I will gladly write a commission story.
Give the old college try there, pal.
Yeah, but that is not currently what I do. I just write horror stories. Out in several different anthologies, and I have a self-published one that's just out on Kindle. Or you can check me out at screamhorrormag.com.
Yay.
All right. So thanks everybody out there for listening. We will talk to you on the next episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Attack of the Killer Podcast.